Welcome to what is probably going to be the world's biggest unboxing video, because as many of you know, I am a whiskey broker. So what the hell does that mean? Basically means that you work in an office like this doing admin mostly. But anyway, we've got a stack of boxes here with a massive collection of whiskey in that I have not yet seen. So this has come to us from a client in the south of Wales, and we're going to basically help them sell it. We're going to put some of the bottles on our shop and put some of them into auction in order to maximize their returns. Now, I just thought it'd be good to bring you along with this, because if you're a geek like me, there's probably going to be some fun bottles in here. So let's just roll with it. Let's give it a go. I genuinely don't know what to expect to sort of come out of here, and we'll probably go pretty quick because there's probably, I think there's 17 boxes, so there's going to be a fair few. So Glenrothes Select Reserve. Glenrothes, I think, is a brand that's going to be going places in a few years, and you can kind of see that happening now with the direction that Edrington are taking with it. Now, again, boom, you can kind of, you know exactly what these are when you see them. These Edredor, pretty tubes, bane of my life. These are in super decanters normally, and really nice. I think they're just super presentation. And what is this one? 1991. 2005 bottling. So yeah, super little Edredor. And then again, I can't say that I've seen too many signatory vintages bottled like this. So this is the decanter collection. So here we go. Clynelish 1998. Interesting one. This got no seal on the top of the capsule. So that offhand, I've got no idea whether this came with a capsule on it or not, but typically we don't ever sell anything without a capsule on it. So that might be one that is going back to the owner. But these are all the silly little practical things that you have to remember and bear in mind. Pretty boring Glenkeith there, or Glenkinchie, not Glenkeith, Glenkinchie, and an old school Strathisworth 12 there as well. These are in normally, yeah, pretty ordinary, pretty boring. So that's perfect auction food. Now let's go for this one. For people to have a collection like this is not actually that uncommon. We see people with collections of 100, 200 bottles almost by accident, quite often by joining Averys and all of the sorts of wine clubs, and then they just accumulate by mistake. So pretty standard boring Glenlivet, Bow Blair elements. Let's take a look at this. Pretty ordinary, but like a nice 1990s bottling, I would have thought. Again, you may think that I know everything about whiskey. I don't. I absolutely do not. Cragganmore, pretty ordinary. Glenlivet 15 French Oak, pretty ordinary. These are a bit nicer though. Two older style Yamazakis. So yeah, I don't know everything, and I do have to look up a lot of things, but once you start handling these bottles, you know, 100 times, 1,000 times, you end up sort of getting to know what is sort of relatively common and what isn't. More Glenmorangie, Tomat in here. Again, pretty standard affair. Tamna Leuven, Macallan 10 Fine Oak, 10-year-old age statement. That's pretty interesting. I remember buying a bottle of this years and years ago now, and it was all right, but I don't think the Fine Oak series ever worked as well as the Sherry Oak. And for me, Macallan has to be sort of like a full sherry cask maturation. And then here you go, beautiful old style Dalmore. So this is after they've gone forward with the stag on the bottle, but before you've obviously got those now. You've got those lovely chrome plated sort of affixed ones that are stuck onto the bottle now. So, and again, you can kind of see how Dalmore's presentation has changed, and now that they're considered, what should we say, a more super premium brand. Little one of three, what have we got in here? Ardmore. What's this? Oh, it's just a standard, yeah, pretty ordinary Ardmore. But Ardmore's an interesting one. Highland distillery that's making peated whiskey. Auchentoshan. And what else in here? An Aberlour 10. And again, Aberlour, great bang for your buck. And the Abuna is absolutely sensational. Keep going. Glenkeith. Yes, we finally get a Glenkeith. A Glenlivet. A Shackleton blended malt. Now, people don't really get on with blends, but I think blends are probably the best bang for buck. I think when you start looking at whiskey and seeing it just simply as an age statement, you really narrow down what you're actually drinking, because you should really, like, the thing is with a blend, you can pick a flavour profile, and probably one of the best whiskies that I've had in a long time on a price basis, the Glenglasser, the Sandend that's just come out. It's technically a blend, no age statement, but it's absolutely phenomenal, and in my opinion knocks the pants off the 12-year-old. Now, the reason why I'm filling is because there's still quite a lot of ordinary bottles coming out here. I'm hoping we're going to get into something more interesting soon. The old style double wood, Highland Park old school, some Bruichladdich. I mean, the old school Bruichladdich are great, and Bruichladdich actually, you know, they've just released that 30-year-old, haven't they? It's interesting to see how that brand, now they've got some more aged stock, is starting to become a bit more of a premium offering. So I wonder if that's something that's going to continue. Now, again, you'll see the duty sticker on this bottle came in to fight fraud, and it hasn't really done much. So they are repealing these this duty scheme. So you're not actually going to see those duty stickers for much longer. I think they'll probably be phased out within the next year, I would have thought, somewhere like that. It was in the budget. So if you're really interested, you can go and look at the budget. This is a more interesting looking, oh, Bladnoch 20-year-old. That's interesting, isn't it? That's like an OB Bladnoch. I think that must be from the time that the Armstrongs owned the distillery. 1990. Yes, it's a 20-year-old whiskey, but pretty ordinarily bottled compared to the Bladnoch direction that it's in now with the super square. Quite nice branding, to be fair. Again, has anyone seen the Cacaoan? Clynelish. Yep. Nice. Glengoyne, I think we've just got it's a cask strength, this one, but only 12-year-old, but 100 proof. Nice bottle there. And then we've got, yeah, so we'll know what these are. If you've ever seen these coming out, Springbank private-cask bottlings. So let me just put these here, and I'll get one out. And I'll just hide the name on there. But you've got an 8-year-old fresh Oloroso sherry cask, 2000, 2009. Look at the colour of that for an 8-year-old. Absolutely sensational. Now, Springbank used to do partial bottling runs for customers in their official bottles like this, but they've stopped. It's either all or nothing, I'm afraid, now. So it's unlikely that you're going to see too many more of these Springbank private casks bottled like that, because if the question is, do you bottle it all or do you sell it all in bond, you know, 200 odd bottles of whiskey is more than anyone wants to take. And the biggest factor with those Springbanks, when you do get them privately labelled, is how well you get them bottled and how good your label is on the front. Because if you know, I've seen them before where people haven't even put the age statement or the distillation date on there. And again, you try and put it in auction, it might be 25 years old, but no one really cares. Anyway, we're looking at an interesting box here. Signature Vintage Dallas Dew. This is kind of like the transition sort of period with these. You can understand why like indies are not necessarily very sought after by collectors at the moment, but I do think that's going to change when you start to appreciate all the little nuances, but it's not quite as obvious. Rosebank 1992, it's opening up again this year. Cooper's Choice, quite nice. 43%, so it's probably knocked down a bit. Yeah, it must have been knocked down a fair bit if it's only a 12 or 9-year-old even, but an interesting age statement nonetheless. Old Malt Cask Brora 1982, 20-year-old. I mean, what would that be if that was an OB, sorry, coming out this year? So love these old Malt Casks, even though these bloody boxes are quite susceptible to coming apart. Cardenhead St Magdalene, it's like a Linlithgow. Nice bottling, but again, undervalued. There's a lot of value in these Cardenhead bottlings. Look at Whiskey Fun, look at everything like that. Really awesome reviews, and just overlooked because I think of the way that they looked. Nice Little Mill there. Deanston 17. Ardbeg, you know, it's almost there. It's from the, 2000 and early 2000s, was it? Oh, there you go, it tells me 2008. And then the 17-year-old. Again, the 17-year-old, I think, has fantastic reviews. So a nice OB Ardbeg. You don't actually see very many at all IB Ardbegs because there's very, very few casks ever put on the market. The only ones that ever did come out, I think there's about 50 of them. If you get the Ardbeg book, there's a cask program that they did with, it'll come to me in a minute, with a, oh, it's going to annoy me now. I'll keep talking. Glenmore 8-year-old, that's interesting. It's going to bug me, that. Imperial 1990, bit of grain. Glenburgie 10-year-old. And a oh, that's, yeah, Milburn. Ooh. Let's keep going. Tannerleven Connoisseur's Choice. Love these old Connoisseur's Choice bottlings. The map label series, that, and you can go on forever and ever. Glenmarnock, 18-year-old. Singleton, which is basically just a brand name for a multiple of distilleries. The Singleton, absolutely huge in Asia though. Powers, bit of Irish whiskey there. Bladnoch, 1986 Bladnoch. So for all you Bladnoch fanboys, £23 when that first came out. Absolute bargain. But look how long someone's waited for that. That's probably a good 20 odd years old. Let's see when it was bottled. And this is what people don't do anymore. They don't have the long game. 1998, you know, it's been bottled a heck of a long time now, that. More. Milton Duff 10-year-old G&M. Ledshigs, that's the peated Tobermory. Nice Connoisseur's Choice map label. Kalila. Not going to be long until this packaging gets a big overhaul. I think it's going to... They've started doing it with part of the range, but now the brand's got the new visitor centre and everything. Nice Longrow. Oh, 1992. 10-year-old. Talisker 10. Talisker 10. I'm going to need a drink after this. But of course, you know, all I'm going to do here is unpack everything. And then all my staff on Monday, they're going to swear at me, probably not to my face, because we've now got a packing desk full of whiskey that we're going to need to get sorted out. Ardbeg 10, Glendronach 15, a Belton aged, or a Belton whiskey, the Glendronach. Wow, even though everybody whinges about chill filtering and everything. Tobermory, nice triple distilled Hazelburn there. Glenfarclas, pioneers of average whiskey labels, and a bit more Tobermory as well. So we are getting through them now, but blimey, there's still quite a few to go, isn't there? Are we going to have enough space? We'll have to make space. I'll start putting them over that end now. So let's see what we've got. A Lefroy quarter cask, about 125 litres, quarter of a sherry butt. Tamdu 8-year-old. Glenlivet 16. Fessican. So as you can kind of see, this, what can we start to tell about the person who owned these bottles? So they clearly were passionate about whiskey, because there's quite a few independent bottlings coming out here. But at the same time, there's not many of this sort of, should we say, the more premium bottlings that you would typically expect to see. So for instance, you've not got any big sort of other names like Macallan. They've all probably been purchased within a similar price point and then just gone on to mature in the garage. Nice Highland Park, 18-year-old Hart Brothers there. Scapa, 1983. And of course you can see we start getting to quite a few boxes. Again, yeah, so it's a nice collection. It's, you know, if you were to have this as a drinking collection, it would be absolutely phenomenal. Black Bottle, that's a really interesting blend from all the Isle distilleries. It's pretty damn nice actually. But you can kind of see with this, the majority of these bottles would probably be best going into auction, because there's nothing of, well, there are some nice bottles, but the majority, you can see that they've been purchased at a certain price point. Absolutely love these Aberfeldy bottles. I think they really stand out and they do something completely different to what a lot of other distilleries do. And I think we tend to sort of, like, what annoys me about the industry to a certain extent is the amount of information that goes on labels nowadays. Nice flora and fauna bottling there as well. And it's quite difficult really for, should we say, normal people to, should we say, get on board with, because we might take it for granted in the industry that everybody knows what an Oloroso quarter cask is, but does anybody else? Oh, here we go. Right, this is ramped up a bit then. Rare Malt Selection, 20-year-old Port Ellen. What's the level like? Because sometimes these can be, no, absolutely fine. Really nice, these Rare Malt Selections. They're kind of like official, they're official bottlings, but so right, some SMWSs, so 76.43, so this is the 76 distillery that the SMWS bottled, which was Mortlach, I believe, and then 43 is the 43rd edition of that. Let's see what else they've got here. Number 2, 46. These are nice bottles, these are. 2, I think, is Glenlivet. Number 41. There you go. I'm not actually that clever, people, because everybody has this lovely habit on SMWS bottles of writing down exactly what's on them. And that's exactly what's happened with these. So if you ever want to look clever, pick one up, take a quick look and hide it. And oh, 39, yeah, that's definitely Linkwood. Yeah, I really know that's Linkwood. Oh, it's a 1989, 1999 bottling. Yeah, fantastic. Just don't show people the handwriting. But that's the joy of these SMWS bottles, which I think really are massively overlooked and overrated from a collecting point of view. You know, ooh, that's a lovely Hart Brothers Kalila. Lockside, slightly filthy one, that one. Brora. But there's SMWS, and you kind of got to look for value nowadays. Oh, look at that, Edward Tokai matured. So this is, Tokai is a very sweet sort of dessert wine. Not really seeing too much matured solely in these. So quite an interesting bottle, that. I know somebody who is a big producer of Tokai that might be interested in buying that. So we will put that aside for them, I would have thought. But those SMWS bottles, like I say, you've got to look for value nowadays. You can't just expect to buy things and then flip it and make a load of money. Those days are just gone, I'm afraid. Oh, Pulteney. Oh, Pulteney. Ah, silly boxes. Highland Park 12. Highland Park 12. So looking for value, look what is undervalued in the market. Now, look at SMWS, for instance. They have now been bought out by Artisanal Spirits. They are now a publicly traded company. If you want, you can go invest in them because they are on the stock exchange, whatever you want to call it. So they have obviously gone Glengarry. They've obviously sort of rebranded recently. They're going nicely. Lovely looking Springbank here. 100 proof. And yeah, you've just got to look for value. Like Glengarry, you might not necessarily have thought about a massive name now. Again, really, really nice Springbank here. £27.76. I love these white capsules that you get on them. You sometimes get these white capsules on the 1966 local barleys and things like that. And it just, for a geek, is quite interesting to see them. But the point I was making about Abuna, sorry, edition 25, love Abuna. The SMWS, now that they're a public company with a lot more money, they're going to have a lot more capacity to market themselves and a real need to market themselves, because now they're beholden to their shareholders. So you can't just sort of make things and have it as like a little offering, really. You have to make money for your shareholders. So I would expect to start seeing more noise made by the SMWS as they have to sort of change their approach with it. Balvenie Doublewood, Glenmorangie. I mean, this person was clearly buying a significant amount of whiskey. I don't know why though. There's nothing in here really that's been opened. You know, quite often you'll find the odd open bottle and stuff, and there could well be. We'll have to open up every single box next week. But it's just interesting. This has clearly been what I would say is a drinker's collection. Somebody who's been buying with the sole intention of drinking, really. And here we are on to the last box. And they've picked up some super bottles, but like the Rare Malt Selection, the Milburn, that was really nice. Yeah, this Milburn. Yeah. Distilled 1990, bottled 1998, cask 2021. That's a really nice bottling. Incredible ABV, 67% as well. So that's actually a pretty damn nice bottle. So yeah, there are a few sort of treasures in here, should we say, but you can kind of see whoever was purchasing this was buying it with, I love those old Glengarry's, litres, with probably the intention of drinking, and no doubt everybody saw this collection and thought, Mr. Smith likes whiskey, let's buy him a bottle for Christmas. And this is how these collections often end up out of hand, and how you will often find, oh, here you go, Glenallachie. This is from the days before Billy Walker, isn't it? They've just rebranded again, haven't they, Glenallachie? And, you know, you can say what you want about Billy Walker being great for whiskey, and he is, but I think what he's always been very good at is great for branding and creating sales, which is the important thing, because the whiskey, it's always fantastic, but it's the perception of this. And it's kind of like the way that I think about this is, if you went to your local chippy but were fed a Michelin-starred fish and chips, it probably wouldn't have the same impact or effect on you as if you went to the Michelin-starred restaurant with the, you know, nicely dressed up and all your ambience. You know, people say the packaging doesn't matter and it's just about the whiskey, but I think, you know, it does impact the way that you taste and perceive these things. Anyway, more supermarket malts here. More Lafroig, Habiki, just a nice harmony there, Auchentoshan, and finally a 24-year-old Glenmarnock. So there we go, it's Aldi, isn't it, the Glenmarnock? So there we go, we've got 100 plus bottle collection here. It must be over 100 bottles surely, 150 bottles, and you know, this is kind of like the ins and outs of it. It is great to be a whiskey broker, don't get me wrong, but on the other side of it, there is just a lot of unpacking, repacking, sorting, whatever. I mean, just look at this. Like, there's a heck of a lot of cardboard boxes now to get rid of. Obviously, I'll probably shy away from doing that and find myself something to be busy with, but this is the reality of it. So what we'll end up doing now here, we'll pick out the most expensive, most sought after bottles that are going to be sort of £700 upwards and get them on the Mark Littler shop, which is also now the Whiskey Wash shop. And then we will also get the rest packaged up and distributed to auctions that we think are going to get the best prices for the clients. So there you go. It's a bloody big unboxing, but if you just want to call it another thing, it's just a big lump of work, but I absolutely love it. So see you on the channel next time, and if you want to see more content like this, let me know, because we're obviously seeing a lot of this all of the time.